Okay, I have today Representative Eric Burlison from Missouri. We're going to be talking about some of the biggest stories that people want answers for, what's going on with the southern border, what's going on with the Republican Party, and what's going on with the UFO investigations. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me today.
Great to be here.
There's a big battle heating up right now on the southern border between Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. He's got, I think, 25 Republican states that are telling the federal government Texas has the right to protect and defend their own border. On the federal government side, the White House and President Biden, who claims there's no border issue, there's no security issue at the border, is telling Texas, stand down, let these people come in, process them faster, don't complain. It's our border, not yours. What do you think is going on? What is your assessment? Are we being invaded at the southern border?
I believe that we are. Look, there's been nearly 8.5 million people come across the border since Joe Biden took office. To put that in comparison, when we had one of the executives from the Department of Homeland Security into the Oversight Committee just recently, and he testified that under the Trump administration, the highest watermark was 30,000 crossings in 1 month. Under the Biden administration, we're seeing upwards of 300,000, so tenfold flow into the United States. And what the changes that were made to the policy and the way in which this administration deals with the laws on the books is really what has caused this increase in flow. Whenever Biden took over and he eliminated the Remain in Mexico policy, when he made it so that asylum seekers could pre-register downloading an app before they even come into the United States, they have basically created a fast-track process and a very convenient way for people to immigrate into the United States illegally, and then even make it easy for them to find their final destination. And so we're funding a lot of these NGOs who are basically aiding and abetting criminal activity, and that's being done at the expense of our tax dollars. And so there's a lot of disturbing things that are happening. But what's happening on the smoke and mirrors that's happening is that Chuck Schumer in the Senate, along with the Biden administration, they have tried to form a group that is both Republican and Democrat to come together with some kind of language to quote unquote fix the border. But by all accounts, the language that they're working on is really only going to make legal what is happening on the border. It's going to legally allow 5,000 people a day to cross into the United States. It's gonna increase the work permits. It's gonna do everything it can. Basically, the bill will legalize what is currently happening. And that's not acceptable to me. It's not acceptable to my district, to my constituents. I think that we have a financial burden that we can't bear as well. I mean, Milton Friedman, the great economist of our era, once said, "You can have an open border nation or a welfare state. Pick one. You really can't. A nation can't survive as both." And that's unfortunately that's the United States today.
Yeah, well, it seems like people illegally coming in, they're getting way more benefits from even our own citizens. Children are being removed from schools. They're being put up in posh hotels, meals, cell phone, legal fees. I read the other day that veterans are not getting medical care because illegal immigrants are, getting medical treatment before. The hospitals in Denver are saying we're on the verge of financial bankruptcy. The airports are saying that we're full. There's just bodies sleeping here. We don't know what to do with them. So it is definitely an issue. So you sit on the committee that is investigating UFOs or UAPs. I wanted to see, I know that recently you guys were brought in to, I guess, be debriefed on classified information. We don't want you to reveal anything that would go beyond your authority. But I wanted to see if you could give my community an update on anything that you've learned about, the government spending. Are there really UFOs? Is the United States in danger? Things like that.
Yeah, I think that one of the concerns that I had is whenever you have a whistleblower like David Grush come forward, who is a central figure within this community, and has made some pretty bold claims. And that those are all public. He made claims that the United States has multiple crash retrievals of non-human origin, that we have non-human biologics that come with that. He didn't specify what that meant. So he made a lot of very interesting claims. But apart from the sensational aspects of it, what is concerning is his description of the way in which the Department of Defense and the intelligence community is nesting within the different secret special operation programs that are very classified. The UAP program, if you will, is being compartmentalized and nested within those different programs. And so the money that's being spent, well, it is not only dark, it's extremely dark, because we know that of the federal government, I think some of the estimates are that there's been, of the $700 billion Department of Defense budget, about 50 billion of it is sent to some of these, dark programs. And so there's quite a bit of money that's flowing. And the question that it raises is, if we're a Republican form of government, or a representative form of government, how is it that lawmakers are not aware of what's happening in these programs? How is it that there's no transparency? They're not releasing any information to members of Congress. They are not sharing it with other members of the intel community when they do have a right to know. And so those kind of concerns are valid concerns that Grush has raised, and I think it merits investigation. I also think that when you've got Air Force pilots, Navy pilots, all reporting and recording in some instances their sightings and their near misses with these aircraft, then I think it's something that if we care about the safety of our pilots, if we care about the security of the nation, it's important that we determine what it is. Now, I've made news in this regard. What I've said is that my belief, I'm the skeptic on the committee, I believe that it's more likely, the most likely thing that we're seeing is that, and I don't discount that these objects that are in the sky are not there. I believe the pilots, I believe the footage. I just don't jump to the conclusion that it is little green men that traveled here light years to get here and then crashed. I don't jump to that conclusion. I think the most obvious answer is that it's probably the contractors within our defense community doing advanced research and advanced propulsion. That's what my worldview is. Now, one of the theories that was brought up in the hearing that Grush had in his report is that these craft, and this is Grush's claims, not mine, that these craft are not traveling here so much as that they are in a way in which they are phasing into, or they're extra dimensional technology or creatures that are extra dimensional to this dimension, and he spoke about the holographic principle, and I understand all that, I get all that, but in my mind I've said publicly that you might as well, to me, be talking about angels. If you're going to talk about things that are of an entirely different realm of being, we might as well be talking about about something that's beyond or something that's supernatural, if you will, because it's beyond this nature.
Okay.
And so I say that to say, I think it's most likely that it is that it's us, that it's our military contractors. And I'd say, but based on Grush's comments, I would say it is, it's intriguing, the idea that there are extra dimensional forces at work.
Okay, thank you for that. I hear what you're saying, where I understand, maybe the government doesn't want taxpayers to know all of the different places they're using their tax money. But when members of Congress, the elected officials, don't have knowledge, it's being hidden, compartmentalized. It does seem like people within the military or those within the part of the government that aren't elected in or voted out, that they end up holding the secrets close to the vest. And it sounds like that's the part that's bothering you, where it's these dark pools of money that are collecting vast amounts of money, but nobody has any oversight on what's actually happening.
Yeah, that's exactly the concern that I have is, look, if there is some advanced technology that our contractors are working on, that's understandable. But somebody who's elected should be aware of where the dollars are flowing and what they're flowing to. If these contractors if the dollars are all private and there's no federal expenditures towards these programs, that would be a completely different conversation. But because we are spending an enormous amount of money, to give you an idea, $50 billion is I think probably 1.5 times the entire state of Missouri's budget. So my entire state budget plus half is how much the federal government is spending just on these dark programs.
Wow. Yeah. Well, when you put it into that context, that is a massive amount of money. Now, really quickly, I don't fully understand everything about government. Did you volunteer to be on this committee, or was it assigned to you by somebody else?
So I'm on the Oversight Committee, which is the investigatory arm of Congress. And we're the committee that investigates everything. At the beginning of this last year, we were in a hearing investigating the Twitter files that were being released. We're currently investigating the transactions of the Bidens and Hunter Biden's and that flow of money from different foreign entities into the Biden family's bank accounts.
Okay. Now, the Daily Mail recently put out an article that the CIA has a secretive UFO recovery division that has been deployed at least 9 times to recover non-human crafts. Was that something that you were aware of, or was the publishing of that article the first time you heard anything about the CIA having a non-human recovery division?
Yeah, I would say one of the most disappointing parts about being in Congress is that you would think that you would find out information ahead of the public, but in my case, it is yet to be the case. I found out about that as you did when the story broke, and I have, people have these perspectives or belief that they're pulling, when we go into these skiffs, when we go in these rooms, that they're pulling back the curtain and telling us everything they know. And that's not the case. In fact, I can't tell you, I haven't really learned a whole lot from anybody in a secure setting.
Okay.
You generally find that you find out more information from the public and in the news.
Interesting. Okay. I know that we've run out of time. I want to be respectful. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for everything that you do. If there's any big announcements in the UFO or the border or the GOP, please, we'd love to have you come back on the show. But Congressman Eric Burlison, thank you so much for coming on today.
Anytime.